What's up, everybody, and welcome to Ask an Educator, Sofia Speaks Special Edition. Listen, we took a little bit of a break for Thanksgiving, so we do hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving break and there was much to be grateful for, but we are back live and in living color, and I'm just so excited to announce my next guest. And so my friend that I'm about to bring up on stage is someone that I recently met in Philly, and I was just so excited to connect with her. She is an activist, a parent advocate, and definitely a disruptor. I'm excited to have a robust conversation with my girl, Maritza. Without further ado, let's just bring her on to the stage. Maritza, come on through. How are you, girlfriend?
Hola, I'm great. How are you?
You know what? We just out here. I really feel like that's what we're up to right now because we're trying to wrap up the end of the year and just gearing up for 2024.
Absolutely. So many things have happened for many of us this year, and so many wonderful things are happening at the beginning of this coming new year. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, every now and again in life, you run into folks and you say to yourself, you know what? This is a kindred spirit. You know, this is someone that I can vibe with and I can hang out with and collaborate with. And when I met you at the Latino Pennsylvania convention, I said to myself, man, I want to connect with this woman because she is just a sweet spirit, has really good energy, and is doing some incredible work. So thank you for being with us today.
You're very welcome. I mean, I felt the same way. I have been looking forward to the Pennsylvania Latino Convention for the past 3 years now, and I saw you on a panel. And then you came into one of the workshops, the one specifically talking about bilingual education. And then you and Dr. Randy were sitting behind me. And then some of the conversations that started happening, I was like, yeah, I can talk to her.
I love it. I love it. And that's just so awesome that we get an opportunity to travel. And we'll talk a little bit about our travels and like being a traveling woman, Latina speaker and wanting to enter that space. But first tell the people a little bit about yourself, who you are, your cultural landscape. Who are your people?
Who are my people? My people are originally from La República Dominicana, Dominican Republic. Both my mother and father are from Dominican Republic, born and raised. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Then my family situation changed and my mom moved me and my sister to North Jersey, to Passaic, New Jersey. That is where I consider myself having been raised. And then I moved to Philadelphia in the very early 90s. So I became an adult in Philadelphia. And while here, I'm the mother of 5 children, the grandmother of 2 little boys, 1 4-year-old and one about to be 4-month-old. I'm a wife, a daughter, a tia, a cousin, and an all-around vocero, which is a person that speaks. That I just speak. I speak my truth, and I help others develop their voice.
I love that. And apparently a woman who could burn, as my dad likes to say, someone who could cook in the kitchen. And I'm manifesting. I will be at your kitchen table one day. Yes, I will. And I will have some of your delicious food that I know will represent your cultura from here all the way to your ancestors. And I am excited about that plate of food. I keep talking about it, and I am not playing with you. Okay.
I've done it. I'm known anyone that has come to visit that have blessed our home. I cook. I just say, look, I can show you a nice restaurant. I can take you to a nice spot. It's not going to break your pockets, but I can also cook. And that's how I show my love.
I love that. Can you tell us like one of your signature dishes that you make for your family and friends?
Oh my gosh. Anything, well, for us Dominicans, we call it moro de guandules, hombre de
Okay.
habichuela,
Uh-huh.
and specifically pollo guisado
Oh, sí.
or bistec cebollado, which is pepper steak. So, I mean, and of course the plátanos. And I know I have some friends that I'm going to share this link with that teased me because I was visiting friends in Atlanta and I cooked and they were like, well, where are the maduros? And I was like, I'm sorry, they didn't have any. What do you want me to do? But they never, don't forget the maduros next time. So they're like a standing joke. You know, they're always asking me, where are the sweet plátanos? I was like, stop.
That is hilarious. It's similar to like the Puerto Rican menu, is what I'm
Absolutely.
hearing. Yeah, the pollo guisado, the plátano, that's very similar to the way that we cook as well. That's just an aside. But I'm just excited to one day sit with you. But tell us your professional journey. I know you had like a lot of cool experiences. As I was looking at your LinkedIn earlier this afternoon, I was like, man, she's been in some really dope spaces like parent advocacy and
Yes.
translation and just really doing some incredible work. Tell us about your journey and who can you credit?
Oh my gosh. I first credit my mother. Because like many families in which we were first generation or even second generation of parents or guardians that came to this country not speaking any English, their children
Mm,
automatically became their translators at
right.
a very early age. I mean, very early age. So as soon as I was able to articulate things and be able to translate things, that is what my sister Marisol and I have done for our mother to this day. And you
Mm,
transition from translator to then secretary. And then, you know, secretary to then advocate. So at a very early age, that happened for me.
mm,
But then I made a promise to myself that once I had children, that I would be as involved as possible in their educational careers because my mother, because she was a single mother, my dog is over there tearing up a box. I'm sorry.
that's
My
okay.
mother had to work multiple jobs. So she wasn't able to go to all the after school activities. I have been fortunate enough to have the types of jobs that permitted me to be able to be a part of my children's school lives. And when my second son, Elijah, was in high school, I was approached by a gentleman who is my mentor, Mr. Winslow Mason. And he said, can I have a conversation with you? And that started my role in being developed
Mm,
as a parent leader because I've always been involved, but I never really like spoke up or spoke in front of people to that extent. And he had a conversation with me to find out what I'm passionate about, what my strengths were, and that's how it started. And to this
mm.
day, that is something that the one-on-one is an amazing thing when it comes to advocacy and parent and community engagement is being able to speak with people, listen to them,
Yeah.
and develop that foundation of trust. Because once you have that trust, no matter what happens, you can call them and they'll be there for you. Because you know what? I know Maritza, I got to know her. She got to know me. She asked me to speak up about what I feel strongly about. I'm there.
I love that. And that's so powerful to really be able to step into those roles that really promote this idea of equity and amplifying voices that would otherwise be silenced or snuffed. I just love that. And with that being said, this follow up question, why the concentration on specifically the Latino community? Um, why did that really become like one of your niches?
It was for me because I came across so many people, along with helping my mother and any other family members. It was neighbors. It was the parents of classmates
Yeah.
that also needed someone to help them. I mean, I got in trouble a couple of times. I mean, I remember as a teenager, I'm hanging out with one of my girls, and her mom asked us to go to the supermarket. My girlfriend, Andrea, she's African American. We're in the supermarket line, and there's a woman in front of us. I knew she was Latina. And she started making derogatory comments about me and my friend. Mind you, the lady did not realize. She assumed that I was not Latina,
right,
that I didn't know any Spanish. So I'm listening to this woman talking under her breath, saying things. And I was 16. I had a lot of mouth.
right.
And I told my girlfriend, do you know what she said? She said XYZ. And my girlfriend turned around. The lady looks at me and I said to her in Spanish, next time, la próxima vez, ten mucho cuidado, be very careful. Do not assume
Right.
that we don't understand you. Because we come in all shades.
Yeah.
All shades, all hair textures. I've never fit what some may see as the stereotypical model of what a Dominican woman looks like. You know, with the hair blown straight or flat ironed, a lot of makeup, you know, the svelte, you know, physique, you know, the tight fitting clothes. That was never something I was never comfortable. I was always in my jeans and sneakers, a hoodie like I got on now. I was always comfortable. Right. But thanks to my parents, I'm fully biliterate.
And that's so powerful. And that's such a gift that a lot of second gen students and family members like don't have. And I've mentioned this in former podcasts. It really nestles in this area of language justice and how language for many of us within the Latinidad, how language was taken from us because of the messaging and the narrative that was told to our parents when they migrated to their respective countries, países, islands, all of the above. This is an example. My mom came from Puerto Rico when she was about 7 or 8 years old. And I use this story a lot when I speak on language justice. And even though PR is a commonwealth, a lot of Puerto Ricans, especially within that era, it was the Great Migration in the 1960s. And my parents were part of that. My grandparents were part of that whole like shift and flux from the island over here to the city of Chicago. And she was in a Chicago public school walking with one of her classmates, 8 years old. So they're young, they're babies speaking in Spanish. And a white teacher looked to both of them, stopped them right in their tracks and said, "We speak English here. We speak English here." And the same messaging was told to my father when he came from Mexico, when he was 4 or 5. And so guess what happened to my brother and I speaking Spanish in the home? It was lost. Yeah. They didn't want to teach us Spanish because that was not the messaging that was given to them growing up. And so there was this fear. No, you have to assimilate. No, you have to speak English. No, you have to really integrate into this American fabric. And now as an adult and as a teenager, I was like, I want my language. And so I had to struggle. I had to struggle to learn Spanish. I took it in high school. I started practicing with people. I learned a lot in church. Then I married my spouse, and his mom didn't speak any English because they're from El Salvador. And so I learned a lot with my suegra. Y ahora yo puedo defenderme. Yo puedo hablar 100% en español porque estoy practicando y es muy importante para mí, right? So now I can defend myself now. And this is just a point that it just kind of triggered like what you were talking about. Now I have my daughter in a dual language program because I don't want her to lose the language. I'm inundating her with Puerto Rican menu, with Mexican menu, with El Salvadorian menu cuisine. She's speaking Spanish in the home along with my son. I have my suegra that lives here. And so they're speaking Spanish. There's multiple levels of like exposure to the language. And sometimes she's like, "Mom, it's kind of hard. Like I'm learning science in Spanish. I'm learning math in Spanish. And there are certain terms that I don't know yet." I'm like, talk to your teacher. We'll practice them at home and you're welcome, because a gift.
My dad, his choice was, what he always said is, Maritza and Marisol will learn English when they get to school. So from the time I was born until I entered kindergarten, my father would not allow any English to be spoken in the home.
So dope.
Like I caught some things here and there when he was at work and I was home with my mother because she was a stay-at-home mom at the time. I saw things on like Sesame Street. I loved Sesame Street when I was young. So I did learn a few things, and then my sister would come home and sometimes say some things to me that she was learning. But it wasn't until I entered PS 45 in Brooklyn and had Mr. Katz, my first male teacher, tall, white Jewish man. He helped me learn some English. My mother said that I was like a little cotorra, like a little bird that, I all of a sudden came home after a few months of being in kindergarten. I was like, just speaking English, but they always made sure that we maintain our Spanish language in the house.
I love that. And circling back to our school buildings, right? Language justice is still very much a thing. And as it relates to the Latino population, our Latino student population is the fastest growing student population in the United States, making up well over 50% of our multilingual learners at the building level, at the national level.
Yes, it's blowing up.
It's blowing up. And with that being said, we have a lot of first-gen students. We have a lot of Spanish-speaking parents. And how are we servicing them? How are we honoring the languages while giving content and also helping students learn English alongside? And I think now more than ever, our school cultures are really catching wind like, hey, listen, it is inequitable to expect our students to check their cultural identity at the door.
Absolutely.
We, on the contrary, need to be supporting our parents.
Yes.
We also need to be amplifying the cultural landscapes of the students that are in front of us. We need to be disrupting these texts. We need to be honoring Spanglish. Listen, the past 3 years, I've had multilingual learners in my classroom at the junior AP language and composition level. So very high stakes. We're prepping these kids for the test, for the state test, for the state AP exam, 3 essays, 1 multiple choice. And they're still learning and thinking in 2 different languages. And I was very clear. Si tienes que hablar conmigo en español, está bien en este lugar. I'm like, listen, if you need to speak in Spanish with me, if you need to explain something to me, and we can go back and forth in English and in Spanish, it's okay here. It's all. And for many of them, that was the time that it has told them that. They're like, I can speak in Spanglish? Yeah, because I speak in Spanglish.
Listen,
right?
I went on a social media rant a few years ago because I found out that it was like 3 years ago. It was like at the height of COVID or just getting over the height of the shutdown. And I was formerly a secretary at a district school here in Philadelphia. I had a parent withdraw her child. Her child was either a kinder or a first grader, from what I remember. She withdrew her child because she did not feel comfortable with the fact that although they put her child in an ELL class, she was not allowed to speak Spanish in class.
Wow.
And that bothered me. And she said, I need my child to retain her language, so I'm transferring her out. I am on a wait list for one of the only 3 at the time schools in the city of Philadelphia that offered bilingual education. And that enraged me. Because number one, as many of us know, the ELL classes, what they do is put a child in this particular class with the teacher that understands that the student does not have English as their first language.
Correct.
That teacher is not bilingual or biliterate. They just know that it may take a little longer for the child, but they feel that if they immerse the child in the language, that they'll learn English faster. Fine. But what about also making sure that they retain their native original language that they were born with? That's always been my concern. So and then my role at the school, I was a school secretary, but I was the bilingual school secretary. So everything that came down my way, I asked, okay, let me see this. I need to translate this. Don't post that because I need to translate this. Is this already in Spanish?
Wow.
And I'm like that to this day. Any information that comes across, I need to see it in Spanish. I need to make sure it's the correct Spanish, not just Google Translate. I want to see it. If I get a phone message, I need to see it in both English and Spanish. I mean, any other language. I need to see it. Parent meetings, Latino parents aren't coming because they're not making sure a translator is present.
Wow.
And they wonder why there's no participation.
Wow.
It's crazy. And I'm quite sure if it's happening here, it's happening across the country.
Oh, of course it's happening across the country because there's such a shortage of bilingual education educators and ELL endorsed teachers because of there's a myriad of reasons, right? Why there's such a shortage. But I do want to give credit to the US Department of Education. We do have a Secretary of Ed, um, Dr. Miguel Cardona, shout out
Yes.
to Puerto Rico,
Yes.
fellow Boricua in that seat. Representation so matters.
Absolutely.
And he has a current campaign out there called Bilingualism is Our Superpower. I know you've seen me reposted on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Raising the bar. And to his credit and the credit of his administration, when I get there in January as a school ambassador fellow, you best believe that your girl is going to be riding on that coattail. You best believe that I'm going to be right behind that whirlwind of a narrative, because it is about also changing the narrative, right? And I think that with all the work that folks like you and I are doing in various spaces, we're changing the narrative. This isn't a deficit. This is an asset to be able to speak and to think and to learn in two languages, to be bilingual, bicultural, biliterate. That is so valuable in today's society. So not only is it about access, is it about translation and language justice, but it is also about changing the narrative. And I think that that's been so empowering to so many of our students across the country.
Oh, yeah. And to add to that, I honestly feel that other students, those that are, that are not Latino or of Latin descent, should also have the right to say, I want to learn Spanish. I also want a bilingual education so that I can have that extra language in my arsenal of experience as well. I mean, the children that my children attend a predominantly African American population is the highest, but the Latino population is almost eclipsing it. So why not offer Spanish to children beginning in kindergarten so that these children, as they're growing and moving up in grades, are learning already a second language along with their peers that are already being bilingually taught? That would be an amazing thing.
I love that. And it really speaks to the point that language access and language justice and learning a second language is a benefit to everyone.
Absolutely.
I think it's such a benefit to everyone, but there is such a need right now for more qualified bilingual educators, ELL endorsed teachers that are coming in already with multiple languages in their toolbox. And I know that that's not easy to come by, but what are we doing to incentivize, right? What are we doing to make the pathway to have access to these?
Listen, when I tell you, I was a bilingual secretary at a Philadelphia school district school. I can be transparent and say that the pay was not even at poverty level. It was below poverty level. And the only reason that I was able to survive that school year is because I have a spouse with a second income in my home.
Correct.
There is no reason why a support staff person or an educator should have to get a second job to support their family and make ends meet, especially when they have the added skill, the added assets of knowing fully how to read, write, speak another language that is needed in your school community.
Absolutely. And before I went on a leave of absence, I was in an ELL program to get my endorsement because of the heavy influx of multilingual learners at our building level. We're pushing 30% of multilingual learners at the building level alone. And I'll give shout out to my district, Morton East, over here in Chi-Town area. We have one of the most credible bilingual education programs in our area. Folks come to us for WIDA training, for bilingual education, best practices and classroom strategies, for culturally responsive pedagogy. Like, we're the bomb. Why? Because in large part, we were forced to really make these critical changes because our student population is almost 100% Latino, predominantly first gen from Mexico. So we either get in front of this and serve our students with dignity and with respect, or we cave and crumble. And a lot of districts, a lot of school leadership, they need to make these critical choices. This isn't just an add-on. This is a priority.
Absolutely. Do you remember the educator that gave that workshop at the convention, Ileana Acevedo? I spoke with her and I said, listen, what support do you need so that more schools in my city are offering bilingual education? She was like, I need some people to make some noise at the district. And I was like, sign me up. I will make that noise for you. She was like, it's just me. She said she is the only person that at this time that is able to go to a minimal number of schools to incorporate this bilingual curriculum. But if she had the support and the school district felt the heat from all the Latino families in the city of Philadelphia saying, we demand this in more schools that are accessible and easy to get to without having to go across town or be put on wait lists, it'll be easier for these families and these children to maintain this second language.
I love that. But it is going to take a rally cry. It is going to take a clarion call. And as I mentioned, in the US DOE in Washington, D.C., they are catching wind that this is a critical issue that we need to get in front of. And It's about time that it has gotten national attention. Yes. And that this is a student population that deserves so much, and on so many levels, they outperform their non-ELL peers if they are given the right resources, quality staff, and fair access to equal education opportunity. And that includes parents. So I want to circle back to the parents, because I love how much affection you have for your parents. Like, man, like I love my parents so hard. Like when we have parent-teacher conferences, they are just so overjoyed when they're like, ay, maestra, tú puedes hablar en español.
Yes.
Con mi hija, con mi hijo. They're like, oh, teacher, we're so glad that you could speak Spanish. Translation. Tell us, how things are going with our daughter, with our son. And, even though like my professional Spanish, I would say is equivalent to like a 20-year-old, I do my best. And I work so hard at like, just explaining things in Spanish and making them feel comfortable. And some of them have literally cried in my classroom.
Yes.
For feeling seen, for feeling heard. I have a big Puerto Rican flag. I have a big Mexican flag. And I like to tell my parents, like, this is where I'm from, but I know most of you are from Mexico. So the students, to include your child, love to see their flag in the room. And they're like, yes. Ay, qué rico, qué bueno. Gracias, maestra, por su presencia. And they're just so grateful.
Yes.
Talk to us about your strong affection for our parents and why you have literally chosen to travel the country advocating on their behalf.
Listen, because it's not even the translation piece. It's not even just providing something on a piece of paper in Spanish. Many schools are not asking families, are you even literate in your native tongue? So the fact they may not be able to read what's sent home in Spanish or the text message or the email, but if they can speak with someone, that is where the emotion comes up. That is where it's like, oh my gosh, there's someone here that can speak to me, that can answer a question. Yeah. I mean, I was actually told, Sophia, in my role when I worked at the school, to take off my advocacy hat because I was helping some families in English and in Spanish. And with people that do not have a second language in their life, I need you to understand that it can take twice as long to have a conversation when you have to translate information. So please be mindful of that. When you're requesting to speak with a family, when you want to make that phone call, when you want to have that meeting, when you want to give that presentation, it may take twice as long if the person that is speaking has to then translate.
Wow.
Because not every person can read. My mother is the first one to say that she is illiterate. She says, yo soy analfabeta. Why? Because my mother did not go beyond the grade of 3rd grade in Dominican Republic. So for her, she does not feel that she is
Wow.
intelligent enough to be able to read something fully in English or in Spanish. A woman that's going to be 75 years old, that has bought and sold property in this country, that has AAA credit based on her hard work, the
Wow.
sweat of her brow, but she still to this day does not feel that she was educated enough. And that is why education for her was such a strong thing for her children.
Wow.
She's like, you're going to do well in school. You're going to behave in school. You are not going to give me a reason to leave my job to handle something regarding you or your sister's discipline, because you know what's going to happen. You will get in trouble in school and you're going to get severely disciplined at home. So we made sure that didn't happen for her.
Wow. Wow. And I'm sure that during COVID, my goodness.
The calls, the people not understanding how to get on, what is a Chromebook?
Right.
Access. Señora Maritza, how do I log in? What is Wi-Fi? What is all this? They don't.
Yes.
That's what it was like. So it took, just like imagine for all the folks that speak English, are computer literate, parents had to learn how to log their children into Google Classroom.
Right.
What about the families that did not speak any English and they just wanted some help? It was, it was hard. It was very hard. That's why when I could give you a quick story about when I traveled to Texas. I spoke at, I believe it was Houston ISD school board meeting. I purposely started my testimony in Spanish.
Wow.
Purposely. And then when I was done, I said exactly in English what I said in Spanish, which was, do you understand what I'm saying? Are you confused right now? Do you feel uncomfortable because what's being said you don't understand? Well, this is how the families feel when you don't give them the courtesy and respect of speaking to them in a language they can understand. And all those folks were just like, whew. And sometimes that's what it takes, a shock factor. I'll be that shock factor. I'll be that mouth. But I have a reason behind it, a purpose behind it. And I can help you then implement what is needed to improve the communication between your school community and your families, because that's what's needed. If you don't have that, you will not have a successful school year.
I love that. And the fact that you are just like going in and giving that theatrical, dropping the mic factor so that folks can really feel firsthand what many of our families are feeling. And as we mentioned, just with an example of COVID, there was a digital divide. There was a language barrier that really was exacerbated in the midst of COVID. And to your point, I was even struggling trying to figure out my daughter's login and sign in. And I'm a teacher whose first language is English. Thank you very much.
Yes. Exactly. That is exactly how it is.
And I just really think that we have yet to understand the power of untapped collaboration with our parents.
Oh my gosh.
I think that we still have so much to learn with like parent connections and liaisons and really making them part of our team versus someone to just kind of like report to or to give a few announcements to or to let them know when their child was acting up. And for the good teachers, oftentimes the good ones call home with good news, which we should do just as much as the bad news. I digress. But man, to get a parent to be part of your team to make sure that their child is successful is so underrated. And I think
absolutely
right.
Parents will be your number one supporter, your number one cheerleader, the person that will go speak and say the things that some of the educators are afraid to say for fear of retaliation. I'm that parent, and I enjoy and I love it when I see another fellow parent say to me, you know what? I like what you said, Maritza. I like what you said, Miss Guridy. I said, great. Take whatever you saw or heard and take it. Use it in whatever you need to say.
Right.
Incorporate it in your message. That's fine. As long as you reach the people that have to be reached. I am 100% for all those parents that, you know, if you're angry or frustrated, you come into that school because you're demanding to speak to the top person, that principal. I'm like, yeah, have that fire, have that heat, have that energy. But let me know real quick, what steps did you take before you got to that point? Did you have to go to the, you know, go for the nuclear option? Or did you first try to communicate with that teacher? Did that teacher respond? Did you try to reach that counselor? Did that counselor respond? Did you try to speak to that school nurse? Did that nurse respond? Did you speak to the school secretary? Because that school secretary is that gatekeeper to that principal.
That's right.
And if all those individuals were mute to your communication request, then yeah, go straight to that school leader. But have your ducks in a row and have your receipts. Have those receipts. And that's what I tell parents. Have those receipts. Have that proof. Have that timeline. And when you go to that school district meeting, to put that individual or those school admins on blast, make sure you went through the steps first.
Wow. That's so powerful, to empower the parents with the tools necessary so that they can circumnavigate the education of their child. Yes. And it's just so complex, right? But if we have advocates like you in place, it really arms them and empowers them versus disempowering them and taking away their voice and their power. So what are some of the messages that you travel the country with? Let's pivot, because I know you and I share that in common. We do some consulting work. We really enjoy conferences and speaking, breakout sessions, keynotes, webinars. You were recently going to be at an incredible event, the Black Educator Development. I know I shouldn't even mention it because it was just
the BMAC. I was not able to attend the Black Male Educators Conference because unfortunately I came down with COVID. I was so sad. I was sad, but I was happy that it was an amazing event. I was so happy to see that so many educators and my children's school leader was there. That made me smile. Seeing all the photos, seeing all the people, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so ready, Sophia. I was ready. I mean, my workshop was going to be specifically regarding the importance of collaborating with our families in our communities. And it really just, you know, helping the educators that are new, that still have not developed that thick skin.
Yeah.
In being able to communicate, because many of them that I have gotten to know, they tell me I get anxious when I have to call a parent or guardian.
Sure.
And I had some interactive conversations that were going to happen, some activities, some tips, just things that they can be put in their arsenal. Yes, you're an amazing educator. You know, you got that pedagogy on tap. But one thing, and I'm going to ask you as a teacher, do they have not just a PD, not just a one-off workshop, but is there actually a purposeful course in Teachers College regarding communication? See? And that's why I'm here. That's why I feel that I was put in the spaces that I have access to. That's why I feel that the opportunities that I have been given have given me the bandwidth, the connections, because I feel I'm a connector, to be able to have these conversations, because I'm a parent. I'm still a parent. I still have little ones. That's right. You know, I can say, I remember what it was when they were in kindergarten. I mean, I have 2 7-year-olds in our home. I have 2 grandsons. You know, my 4-year-old's about to be 5 grandson, and he's going to go into kindergarten. I'm going to be that Gigi, because mommy's still abuela, because she's still with us. I'm going to make some demands. I'm going to put those people on task. When are you going to have a conversation with me? Let's talk. That's all it is a conversation. Let's talk. How do you approach a parent? Do you just only call them during back to school night? Only during report card conferences? Or are you purposeful in your planning in saying, I have this many children this year. I'm going to make it my business to reach out to them in whatever form they prefer, whether it be a text, an email, a phone call. What is your method of communication you prefer? can we have some time to talk so I can get to know you? Because a lot of the times the way a student is behaving in school is a result of what happened the night before or that particular morning. But if you have that communication with that family, all it takes is a quick text. Listen, I noticed that, Jackie or Michael, they came to school kind of tired today, or they're kind of irritable. Is everything okay at home? But you have to establish that trust.
You have to
establish. And that is why I emphasize the importance of the conversation in one-on-one.
Wow. And to your point, and how critical your message is as you're traveling throughout the country, it's hard for us as teachers. And I could be the first to testify, to establish a connection with our students literally takes us all year. In addition to that, we're teaching to this content. In addition to that, we're answering to the expectations at the building level. So to add that parent piece, oftentimes, and I'll be the first to admit, is overwhelming.
It is.
And we want to, figure out a way to communicate with our parents. But I think, to your point, and that's why your workshops are necessary, and your narrative and your messaging is very critical, because we do need tips and we do need tools, and we do need to embrace the fact that our parents are part of the school year too. Yes. And so we need to figure out a way to effectively communicate, to stay in touch, and to make them feel like, hey, listen, I'm not teaching your child in silo. I'm not isolated here in the school year. I invite you in, and I want you to be part of this team, because you know your child more than anybody in the world. And I actually need you more than you need me on so many levels, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That's why family engagement is critical. It should not be something that is redlined as far as a school's individual resources for the school year. If there is a person that can be hired, or that the district can send, fight for that person. Ask that that person be at the school more than just once a week or once every 2 weeks to establish those connections, because that can be the middle person. That person's role is to facilitate engagement and create those relationships to help. Make sure that person is paid equitably for their talent, because it takes a talent to be able to talk to people. It takes a talent to be able to connect. And, do not take that person for granted, and do not redline them for the next school year's budget. Say, no, we actually need more, because we need that person here all year round to help that school leader and to help those teachers and families be able to communicate effectively.
I love that. And recently, last year, I did a keynote for a nonprofit organization called LEAF. I could give you the information. They're all over LinkedIn too. They really focus on parents. They're parent advocates. And I did a whole keynote in Spanish, and it was with the parents. And one of the tips that I gave the parents as one of my best practices is, do you have access to a parent coordinator at your child's school? Is there any individual that is in place that is specifically their role is designed to work on your behalf, to be your liaison, and to connect you to the resources that are readily available if you know where they're at the building level? And they were just so grateful for that tip. Like, who's your parent coordinator, your parent liaison? And I hope that more and more school buildings would have at least one. We have one. I mean, servicing 3,000 students and parents connected.
Yes.
But at least a point person, because it's that important, right?
Absolutely important. I mean, I guess I was spoiled. One of my former roles was working for a charter school company that is very big in Philadelphia called Mastery. I worked in Camden for Mastery Schools of Camden, and I was their community advocacy manager. So it was my responsibility to be that liaison, that middle person between the school and the community, and to also, expand the footprint of the school across the city of Camden, New Jersey. I'm very proud of the work I did there, because I got to know many families, many educators, many school leaders, district and charter school alike. And that role, I guess I felt spoiled because they used to also have a role, a family engagement role for every school under that charter. I know it's very different for district schools, but it's something that you have to invest in your people. You have to invest in your families. And when families see that an investment is being made to make things better, they will be there and more supportive and participate more as best as they can to their ability, be a part of that school community as well.
I love that. And I think that that's such an important message. And I'm just so grateful that you're passionate about it as a parent and as an advocate. Our school system continues to need so much of that at not only the building level, but at the national level.
Yes.
So here's a question for you as we're wrapping things up here. What's your vision for the future professionally right now?
My vision is to continue spreading the message, the necessary message of making sure that communication with families is given to them in a language that they can understand, regardless of what that language is. Because aside from the need for better communicating in different languages, I feel that the communication should also not be so teacher speak heavy. You know, with the acronyms, you know, families don't understand all of the acronyms. Families may not understand fully what pedagogy means. You know, all of these things, you know, give it to them in layman's terms. And make sure that you have that, if you have that delicate conversation, you can find out if a family is able to read. Because even the English-speaking parents, many of them may not have the life, the gift of literacy in their world.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. I mean, even now there's so much, right now the buzzwords are the science of reading. A lot of people, you know, I'm Generation X. I know people that are my age that still are not beyond a 6th grade reading level.
Wow.
And they're in their 50s. So, and it's been generational. So we have to really be empathetic and delicately ask, you know, is there a reason why, you know, you haven't been responding to the emails, or you haven't, you know, signed these forms or filled them out? Can I help you fill them out?
Wow.
You need someone to explain it to you so they can be filled out, you know, for you. It's very delicate asking someone that question. A very sensitive nature, a very sensitive question.
Yeah, it is. And to your point, my grandmother went to school up to 3rd grade as well. And so my mom really broke the mold there with her getting a college, you know,
Yes.
college
I was
degree.
the first one in my family. So
she was the first. She was first generation. You know, and so I think that that's so important for us to consider these truths and these realities for many of our families. So I love your vision for the future, man. We definitely need that because our parents are depending on us. I'm going to transition a little bit as we near the end. We'll get a little bit lighter here. I got some fill in the blanks for you. So fill in the blank for us. What I really desire for our communities of color are
access, equitable access.
Come on.
Because I keep on hearing, oh, we have these programs and we have all these programs. We have all these programs. Yes, but do we all get access to these programs?
Wow.
Because if we had access to these programs and these opportunities,
that's right.
A lot of the areas in which our children and families are struggling in with regards to education, they're not going to go away, but they will be lessened. They will be decreased as long as everyone is able to have access to the same programs and resources.
I love that. Representation matters because
we are more keen to listen to someone that looks like us. Someone that's come from the place where we have come from. Someone that understands and respects our similarities and appreciates our differences. So that is why, Black and brown and indigenous educators, support staff, it's extremely important in the educational career of our children.
Absolutely. And there's data and research to prove it. So now we've got data to back this up.
That's right.
Last fill in the blank. Stronger parent connection will happen when we
make the schools more welcoming.
Wow.
There are still too many schools in which a parent or guardian walks in the building and they're not treated with respect.
Dang. Woo. Right there, we could just leave it right there, because we need to create safe spaces for our students, but we also need to create safe spaces for our parents.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Dang. Wow. That was so just like resonating on that, like, whoa. Right there.
Absolutely.
All right. We're gonna have fun here. This is it right here. And then I'm gonna cut you loose. I call this rapid fire. I love this part because it really shows like where the guest is coming from and what they gravitate towards. So this is something like it's either this or that, right? So it's not, something that you can really think about. It's just quick. And I know you've seen it with some of my other so let's see. All right. So first category is sports. So we'll start with sports. All right, let's see. All right.
Basketball or football?
Yeah, basketball and football. Which one do you gravitate towards more?
Right now, football. Absolutely. Eagles 10-1. Yes.
Okay. All right. A girl knows what she wants right now with the sports. Super Bowl or World Cup?
Oh my goodness. I have to say Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Okay. I didn't know you liked football like this.
I had to while I grew up in Passaic, New Jersey. If you didn't like football, you didn't have a life.
Oh man. Okay, they're gonna cut you off. All right. Going into the music category. Peso Pluma or Bad Bunny?
What's the first option?
Peso Pluma.
I don't even know who Peso Pluma is, but then I have to say Bad Bunny.
So then you have to say Bad Bunny, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll send you a few songs of Peso Pluma.
Yes, please.
Salsa or merengue?
Oh my gosh, merengue.
Tell me why.
Well, although my mother loves salsa, and in my family, between everybody in it, me and my mother and my cousin Abraham are the salseros. The other half of my mother's sisters, their children, their mothers never taught them salsa, so they will leave the dance floor. So salsa I love, but merengue was the first one.
Man, merengue, you got to be quick on your feet, and it's good cardio too.
Yes.
I love it. Okay. Let's see. Karol G or Alicia Keys?
Wow, that's hard. It depends on what era. So right now it has to be Karol G for me.
Karol G, she's just like crazy
she's
on
amazing.
fire. Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy on fire, and she's got such a dope vibe and a really great story too, and she's just really bringing that Latina vibe into mainstream music, and
yes, she is.
Kudos for her. Okay, food category. Back to the food, and I'm hungry too, so every time I do this, it's like I get hungry just talking about this category. Tacos or enchiladas?
Tacos.
Tacos.
Authentic tacos, not the Taco Bell stuff. I'm sorry. I don't do the regular lettuce, the sour cream, no. I need cilantro and diced onion and salsa verde. That's me.
I love it. Arroz con gandules o arroz blanco?
Gosh. Arroz moro de guandule.
¿Verdad? It's like, it's supreme.
You get to use the flavors. You get to add more flavors. Yes. White rice is fine, but you need that infusion of flavors.
Yes, that is so true. Absolutely. Pico de gallo or guacamole?
Ooh, gosh. I'm gonna have to say pico de gallo. I love guacamole, but pico de gallo, yeah.
Okay. I would have thought you would have went with the guacamole, but
I mean, guacamole is good, but I mean, it's just something about pico de gallo. Like when it's freshly made. It's a toss up, but it tilts more towards pico de gallo.
Okay, because I love pico de gallo, especially like you say, when it's made fresh with the onion, the cilantro, the tomate, un poquito de limón, un poquito de sal.
It.
It's like fire. I know. I'm so hungry right now. Aren't you getting hungry? I'm like, I want a plate of Maritza's purija. Okay, that would make like my whole night. Soon. Okay, last one for the food category. Tres leches or flan?
Flan.
Okay.
I'm going to say flan because my mother always made it. And it's funny, for those of you in the Philadelphia area, LULAC Chapter 210 is selling flans for the holidays. So
wow.
Look for the post on my LinkedIn or my Facebook. It's on there. They're selling flans as a fundraiser for college scholarships.
I love that, for a good cause.
Yes.
All right, here's the justice category. More along of what we've been talking about as it relates to equity and justice. What the world needs most right now is healing or justice.
Oh my God. We need more justice in order to be able to allow us to heal. So it's like, that one's a hard one for me to answer. That's the best way I can answer it. But if I really had to, I would say healing. Because there's too much hate going on. We need to heal.
Yes, agreed. The world needs to heal. What I want to offer the world first is love or grace?
Grace.
Ooh.
There's not enough grace.
I love that.
Like, whew.
Well, we have gotten to the end of the road. This was so much fun, Maritza. I am so grateful that you hung out with us today. I'm so grateful to know you. Thank you for existing. And where can we find you on social media?
Oh my gosh. I'm on Facebook, Maritza Guridy. I'm on LinkedIn, Maritza Guridy. I'm on IG as Miss Guridy. I'm on X, Miss G for Philly Education. I am on TikTok, and I also have a podcast, Looped In with Maritza.
Yes.
I'm out there. People can find me. I mean, on social media, I'm an open book, and I do respond to DMs and emails and things of that nature.
Man, well, thank you so much for your words of wisdom, for your work in the field. And I'm going to manifest this here. Okay, as I pray, visualize, and manifest, we're going to be speaking together soon. We're going to be on a cruise soon. Okay, yes. In February, we're going to hit the air and the sea. And I'll be keynoting and you'll be joining. And I'm just so looking forward to that experience with you. But thank you, Maritza. We will see you soon. And continue the work. Ir adelante. Con fuerza, fuego, con amor y gracia.
Muchísimas gracias a ti. Mucho cariño y muchos besos.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
And so I always get so excited to talk to our friends here as they come on and as they share their hearts and share their stories. For me, it's just always such an honor to hear from them and to just hear from their hearts. So I always like to end with just a little bit of some thought here as I end our session today, and I call it A Second with Sofia Speaks. Today's episode reminds us of how important it is to use your giftings, your assets, and your time towards what you know you've been called to answer. So we press, we push, and we forge ahead. What I'm learning is when you lean into your deepest wishes for the world, it will rise up to meet you and open the way. We have what our ancestors referred to as radical hope, that our tomorrow can look better than today if we keep committing to good trouble. So, to all my EDU justice warriors, I see you, I am with you, and I am for you in the fight. Until next time, keep shining and getting in good trouble, necessary trouble. Goodbye for now.